Hey everyone, welcome to 3 super simple steps to shift from employee to freelancer. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay in the comments, please. Well, stand by here while I figure out the technical issues. Okay. Hang on just a few more seconds. Okay, so now I'm starting to get some. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my stream here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got Google Fiber, which if any of you know what that is, it's super fast internet, but I seem to have issues with it. So anyways, sorry for the technical difficulties. I want to say, hey, welcome to the 3 super simple steps to shift from employee to freelancer. I want to say thanks for taking the time to be here today to check this out. I expect this training to last about 30 minutes or so, and I suggest that you grab a pen and paper, take some notes because the slides are pretty basic, and I don't list out everything that you need to know, but I do say it in the audio. So I will post a replay of this on YouTube next week if you miss something, or you can always ask me during the live Q&A today after this short training. So let's get started. Okay. So I'm guessing that you're watching this webinar today because you're considering going freelance. And by the end of this webinar, I want you to be inspired and have enough knowledge that you can do exactly that and you can go freelance. So with that being said, we all love being motion graphic artists. If that's what you do, we love it. It's a great career. It's fun. It's engaging. It's amazing for an artist to be a motion graphic, artist. And a lot of us ask a lot of the same questions. If we're an employee, like we ask questions like, will I get a raise this year? That was a question I used to ask myself all the time. We also ask, why do I have to commute to an office? Can I do the same work from home? Is this really the best that I can do? Because as artists, we all want to do creative and fulfilling work. That's, our ultimate dream. We all want to be paid for what we do and be paid well to sustain a good life that we all deserve. I've heard so many times the whole starving artist thing where I'm an artist and I can't be paid for my work. Well, it's like, no, that's a bunch of BS. It's like we all deserve to be paid well. We have incredible talents, especially as motion designers. So we also all want to work when we want to work, when we feel inspired to work. So some of us are night owls. Some of us like to work early in the morning. I used to work until 2 or 3 o'clock at night. Now I do the opposite. Now I actually get up early and I do all my work, and by noon I'm done. So it just depends, So based upon these questions, I'm curious if you guys can relate to what I'm talking about, because these are the same questions I used to ask myself when I was an employee before I went freelance. So, I've been where some of you guys are. And I want to back up and just tell you very quickly my story. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard my story, but I'll give you a condensed version of it. In 2007, I had the cush job. I was working for a Midwest post house. I had all the benefits. I had a vacation package, a retirement package. I had pretty cool work I was doing. A lot of it was corporate based, but I also didn't feel creatively fulfilled. So I started freelancing on the side, nights and weekends, just to kind of get that artistry out there. But I was also getting paid for it. So my employer found out about this, and she pulled me into her office one day and she gave me an ultimatum. She said I could do one of three things. I could give her a cut of my proceeds from freelancing, and I could do some of the freelancing during the day at the job. I could quit freelancing right then, or I could quit my day job. So I chose right then and there to quit my day job. I turned around, walked out the door, and I was a freelancer full time, unexpectedly. I had very little money in the bank. I didn't have like a big cash flow built up. I just purchased my first home. I had 2 small children, and I was recently divorced. So I had a lot on my plate. I knew I could make freelancing work. I just gave myself no other option, and I put my head down and I went to work, and I succeeded. And what I did and what I do today works. Plain and simple, it works. So, fast forward to today, I've been doing my own thing for 11 years now. I've always charged a premium for my services while maintaining a very high caliber of clients. Some of those clients have included, I've got a huge list here, but I'll name a few of them. Amazon, American Express, CNN, Dell, Discovery, Disney, GE, Microsoft, MTV, NBC, Sony, Sprint, T-Mobile, Toyota, Xbox, and a lot more than that. So I've seen a lot of highs during my time freelancing, and I've also seen a lot of lows, and I've been through the trenches. And because of all of this, I know what works and what doesn't work. So with that being said, I've got a testimonial here that a former client of mine actually wrote about me. His name was Hugo. And he has this quote about freelancing, which is, Hugo said, "After months of struggling to get clients, Cameron helped me to identify the blind spots in my approach and get my first real professional contract as a freelance motion designer. His teaching has been one of the most valuable investments in my career as a freelance motion designer." So I wanted to show you that because I just want to be upfront with you guys and let you know at the end of this training, I am going to offer you a chance to join my newest online course. And it's for those of you who want to go deeper in setting up your freelance business for success. And that's totally up to you. But what I'm going to teach you today is enough to get you going in a positive direction. This is information that is very surface level, but it's also the basic building blocks of what you need to know to go freelance. And the course is more deep level learning. So, like I said, the reason I'm here today is because I want to give you advice that I wish someone would have given me 11 years ago. It would have got me started a lot quicker. And these are steps that you need to take to jumpstart your freelance career. So I want to inspire you. Like when I went freelance, my family was my worst enemy, to be honest. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was told I would fail by my own parents and other people in my family. And I chose not to listen to them. But unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of inspiration around me telling me I could do this. I knew inside I could, and I had the talent. But, I just want you to be inspired to know that if you've got the talent, which I'm sure you guys do, you can do this. And I also want to take you guys into action. I want you to know enough information today that you can take action, and you can take what I teach you and you can implement it and turn it into a new adventure for you. So the first step you need to know is you need to identify who you are, what your niche is, and you need to set up an online presence. So I say that because like when I jumped into freelancing, I didn't know who I was. I knew I had talent, but didn't know who I was, and I had no online presence. Okay. So you need to start by asking some questions. You need to say like, you need to figure out like, what are you really good at? Are you really good at animation? Are you really good at motion? Are you really good at design? And then within those, maybe you're really good at, something specific inside of, say, animation, like 2D character animation. Maybe you're really good at that. You also need to figure out what it is you excel at. So again, if there are certain things that you're really, really good at, maybe it's compositing, whatever it is, what do you excel at? What are you really good at? What makes you different? Right? So if you're a compositor, there's a lot of compositors out there, but what makes you different in the way that you composite? Do you have a certain style that's, it appeals to a lot of people, or, just what is it? What makes you different? What is your level of expertise? Have you been doing this for 3 months? Have you been doing this for 10 years? There's a big difference between someone who's just starting out and someone who's been doing this for a long time. So what is your level of expertise? What are your unique talents? Again, maybe this comes back to your style. We all have a unique style. A lot of us get caught up in the trends that are going on and have always been going on. But we still have a style. So what is unique to you, and what is unique about your style? You also need to ask yourself, what does success mean to you? Success means something different to everyone. To some people it's money, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it takes money to live. It could be, second thing could be that you just want timed freedom. Maybe you just want to work a little bit of time and then be able to travel and do your own thing. Or maybe it's creative fulfillment. Maybe you just want to create amazing art all the time. That's success as well. Bottom line is, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to leave a legacy in the world of motion design, or is it just more about, like I said, like just doing your thing, making the money, and then going and, traveling the world or living your life? What do you want to be known for? Next, you need to look at what you're doing well right now, and you need to focus on that, and you need to embrace that. So what you do better than anyone else out there, because when you love what you do, it makes a huge, huge difference. So you will attract more clients, you're going to get better projects, you're going to make more money, and you're going to have more time off. So focus and embrace on what you do really well. Next, you need to figure out who it is that you are and what you represent, right? So this is going to double your chances for success and being sought after. And after you've figured that out, you need to create personal work, and you need to pursue what really drives you. So you need to create the work that you want to get more of, the work that fulfills you, right? Because there's 100 other designers that are doing the same thing as you, but none of them do it the same way as you, right? So you need to stand out. You need to look at your values and how you portray your values and what is important to you. And ultimately, that's because clients will hire you because you have something that they want. People like genuine and unique qualities. So don't be afraid to stand out, and don't blend in with the crowd. Just stand out and be you. Be authentic. Next, you need to figure out, okay, are you a generalist or are you a specialist? That could be, do you design, do you animate, do you composite, do you polish? What do you do? Okay? Because even a generalist has specialties, and you need to know what makes you stand out. So let me give you a few examples of what an animator generalist with specialties could be. You could be an amazing overall animator, but when it comes to shape layers, 2D, parallaxing, 3D, or even animating typography, you really, really shine. So you know what that is. For me, I'm kind of a generalist, but I'm really good at polishing, which is putting a finish on, motion design. I'm really good at parallaxing, among other things. So then you need to look at designer generalist. That can be many things as well. That could be that you do style frames, you do boards, you do typography, you do general layout. Maybe you have multiple styles and you can do a broad range of styles. So you're a designer generalist at that point, right? You could be a specialist. And that's great too. There's lots of specialists out there. You could be a polisher, like I said. You could be a colorist. You only work like in 3D modeling or 3D motion. Maybe you only do particle systems. Maybe you only do logo animations, or you only composite, or you do more simple things like rotoscoping, match moving, rigging, rig removal, matte painter. It takes all types to do motion design. So you get the idea. Next, let's talk about, once you've kind of figured out who you are, then it's time to set up a website if you don't already have one. And like I said, a lot of us have websites today. When I started out, I didn't have one. So I didn't even realize I was going to need one, right? So you need to set up a website if you don't have one already. And you need to get a very simple domain that makes sense to you. That could be a .com, a .tv, a .designer. You also need to get a hosting service like Adobe Portfolio. That comes with, I believe it's free with your Adobe subscription. There's also Squarespace, which is what I use. Squarespace is just simple and beautiful, very easy to use. There's also Behance, right? Behance is not a website per se, but it's a great place to put your portfolio up and to let other designers, creative directors see your work, for it to be passed around and to get noticed. It's all about getting your work out there and being noticed and letting people know that you exist. And then there's more advanced options like Media Temple, who I use for things like email and things like that, and then Cargo Collective. Next, you need to make your website clean and clear. These are the most effective websites. You need to stay away from long-winded wording, complex navigation. Everyone loves an easy-to-navigate site. And an easy-to-navigate site means you only need about 3 or 4 pages in that site. The first one is your home page. You need to identify who you are, what your business is about. You need to include a company name if you have one. If you go by your own name, that's totally fine too. And I always suggest that you use a tagline that kind of says, this is who I am. It kind of tells us, a little bit about you. You need to have an about page. You need to be personable and you need to talk about your talent. What positions you as an expert? What makes you relatable? You need to show that you're the real deal. You need to include a simple photo of you, and you need to let the reader of your site know a bit about who you are. Are you clean cut, or are you tatted up, or do you dress well, or you're the skater type? It takes all types again, but you get the idea. You need to let people know who you are. Then you have the portfolio page. This is for your work. Are you a designer or an animator or both? So whatever you are, you need to show that. You need to include big brand logos if you have them. Case studies are nice to have, but they are not necessary. I see case studies more and more often. They're awesome to really, dive into and understand what the process involved was. But the work in general should speak for itself. So the work should be powerful enough that you can put it out there and it's going to say hey, look at this is amazing work. And with that, you need to keep that work on your portfolio page to your absolute best work. You don't want to fill a portfolio page just because you feel like you have to fill it up. You want to, even if you only have 3 very strong pieces, then use those 3 very strong pieces on your portfolio page. That's okay. If I go to a site and I see 1, 2, 3 and I look at them and they're amazing, I'm still going to hire you based on those pieces, even just two pieces of work. Next, you need a contact page. You need to keep it short and simple, and you need to use a web form if you can get a web form. Squarespace uses a web form. I love it. It's simple. People can easily reach out to me. And you need to use discretion when adding a phone number. I don't think it's completely necessary, but when you do add a phone number to your website, you're going to get some calls from people you probably don't want to get calls from. And finally, with your website, here's something that you don't see very often. Put your rate on your about or your contact page and be upfront with your potential clients. Let clients know immediately what your worth is and weed out those clients who aren't ideal for you. We're going to talk about ideal clients here in a minute, but why do rates have to be a mystery? They shouldn't be a mystery. It's like, this is what I'm worth, and here it is on my site. So, weed out those people that aren't going to be good clients for you. Let me check. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to step 2. Step 2 is market you to your ideal client so that they know you exist, right? The best place to start is with you. What are you all about? What kind of mood are you drawn to? What colors do you like? What imagery attracts you? You need to have a personal connection with your brand, and this will keep you inspired to create your absolute best work at all times. Discovering your brand is a journey. It's not about being perfect. It's about being authentic, about who you are. What do you stand for? You need to find a way to convey your how, your what, and your why. And you need to honor those values in absolutely everything that you do. You need to translate your style and identity to your business. And that means you're going to use what you're really good at as your marketing approach, right? So you're going to communicate how you solve problems and how you bring relief to clients. They need solutions to their problems. Every client is looking for a solution to their problem. So essentially, you need to feature the motion design that you want to get more of, right? So you don't want to, if I want, let's say dark and moody motion design, right? Okay. I'm not going to put that up on my website and at the same time beside it put this really awesome character animation I did. Even though it's really awesome character animation, if I don't necessarily want that work, I don't want to put that on my website because I'm just going to attract more of that type of work. If what I want to focus on is just this moody, motion design, which is what I personally love, then that needs to be, in my online presence, because that's my marketing to potential clients to say, hey, hire this guy for moody design or animation. So now I want to ask you guys a question. I want to say, what are you communicating in your marketing in your online presence? Who are you attracting in your marketing? It's something you need to think about. One of the biggest assets as motion designers that we use for marketing is our demo reel. It's a key asset of your business. It says who you are and it says what you do. So you need to create a reel that you're very, very, very proud of. And the ultimate idea here is to grab the client's attention immediately with that reel. So with that being said, every single scene of your reel must be your very best work. You also want to showcase your most recent work first. If a client has seen your past reels, they don't want to come to your site and see a new reel that immediately shows the older work. They've already seen that. They don't care. They'll probably leave. So show your recent work first. You need to focus on your strengths and show what you're capable of. You also need to use work that you want to get more of, which is what I was just talking about. Excuse me, I've got a nose itch here. Yeah, use work that you want to get more of. Like in your reel, if you want moody work, show the moody work and don't show the character animation. You don't, just because you created something doesn't mean you have to show it. If a client specifically requests something from you, then you can show it to them. Use spec work in your reel. Spec work to me means endless creative freedom. This is your opportunity to create anything you want. So when I created my very first demo reel, my first reel was all spec work. I mean, this was years ago, but I just sat down and I created amazing motion design that was beautiful to me that I put into a reel and then put that out there, and I attracted more beautiful motion design because, you know, beauty is huge to me for motion. So my second reel was half client work, half spec work. And by the time I got to my third reel, it was all client work. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with using spec work. It's creative freedom. It's to do whatever you want to do, whatever you want to make, and whatever you want to attract. So use spec work in your reel. Make your reel a match for your ideal client, right? This is what we've been talking about. Don't use tutorials. Now, some of you are like, well, are you kidding me? Like, why would I use a tutorial? Well, I see it happen more often than not. Just don't use tutorials. You know, it's okay to start with something that you've learned on like Motion Science or any other site or YouTube, whatever. It's okay to start with that as a base, but then, you know, make it your own. Take what you've learned and apply it to your own thing. I mean, I still watch trainings and tutorials all the time to learn how to do techniques, but then I turn those into my own special motion, you know, special design. You need to aim for 60 seconds. Attention spans are very short these days. 90 seconds is okay, but ideally I would go for 60 seconds. Anything longer than 90 seconds is only for very exceptional work, like studios that have, you know, a lot of people working for them, creating exceptional work all year long. So even if you need to go 30 seconds for your reel, that is totally okay. 30 seconds of super impactful reel is way better than a 90 seconds of mediocre work. Okay. Music, another key asset to your reel. The music can set your reel apart. You can create a playlist of inspirational music that inspires you. So use music tracks that stir emotion within you, and that'll stir emotion within a client. Listen to a wide variety of music tracks. They could be fast music, slow, lyrical, instrumental, stuff from today, the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, you know, whatever. Put together a track list of music in an application like Spotify and just listen to it for a while and see what really inspires you, because you need to be very inspired when you make your reel. So music to me is very, very important when creating a reel. In your reels, you also need to create an experience, and you need to build the story of you, okay? You need to take the viewers on a journey, and you do this through the work and using edits and transitions. You need to think about the reel like a short film. You need to move through a 3-act structure. This is called story arc, where you build tension, you release tension, you know, and then maybe you have some more tension, or you kind of finalize. But it's like a 3-act short film. This helps just create a more interesting reel. You also need to close your reel with a unique logo animation that is unique to you. This is another chance for you to set yourself apart. You can, make it unique to your style. Aim for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 max. But take this opportunity to have some fun with your logo. You also need to include your contact information on this logo animation. This is for those that view your reel outside of your website, because it will happen. Your reel will end up on sites like Vimeo, YouTube. Other creatives will pass around your reel if it's really good, which is a great thing. And it's a way for you to get more work from it being passed around. But you don't want clients to be Googling, trying to find your website, when they should just be able to see your contact information at the end of your reel. One last thing about a reel is do not timestamp your reel. This can get controversial in motion design, but I'm not a believer in timestamping it. The only exception is to put a year on your reel without the season. So I wouldn't say, spring 2018 reel. I would leave that off. If you feel like you have to put something, just put the year 2018. But the reason is that great work holds up for years, right? So leave the dates off, because the last thing you want is you don't want a creative director coming to see your reel and they see that it's, from 2016, fall 2016 or whatever, and they're like, well, this is really great work, but this guy hasn't updated the reel in 2.5, 3 years now. No one must be hiring this person. I wonder why. I'm moving on to the next person. When the truth is, maybe you're so busy. Like, this has happened to me. I get so busy that's like, it's not important to me to update my reel because I have so many clients coming through the door that it's like, well, why do I need to update my reel right now? I'm getting plenty of work. So don't timestamp your reel. So once you have a website up with a great reel, it's time to get really clear on who you want to work with. Who do you want to be associated with? This means, like, do you want to be associated with, ad agencies, studios, film titles? Who is it that you want to be associated with? And who would you really love as a client? Maybe that is a studio, or maybe that is an agency, or maybe it's direct to business. You can have a variety of clients. I have a direct to business client, Garmin. I love working with them. They're super simple. I work directly with their production team in-house, and there's no middleman agency. So I also work with studios. I also work with agencies. So it just depends on what you're into. You also need to think about, where would you want your work to be featured? Do you want to build stuff that goes on the web, stuff that goes on TV, which is more and more rare these days? Is it an experience, something that's featured in store? I've had work produced, inside retail stores, or, in Times Square up on the giant screens. So, where do you want your work to be featured? These are all things you need to think about when you're marketing yourself for your clients. You need to know yourself, and you need to get clear on who you want to work with. And you need to get an image of your client that is crystal clear. You need to describe their personality, their lifestyle, where they live, and what your place is in their world. You need to identify their biggest need. Pinpoint your client's needs and market to them, because the hardest part is being a match for your ideal client, whoever that is. So you need to know what your client needs, and you need to lead with that. You need to match up your skills with the client's needs, and you need to sell your solutions. And if you're not an ideal match for your ideal client yet, that is totally okay. You can get there with time, with dedication, with focus and hard work. You can work for anybody you want to work with. The sky's the limit. It's just, whether or not you want to focus on getting that client. So again, I want to ask you another question. Are you marketing right now to your ideal client with what you've got out there? And to give you an idea of what an ideal client is, they have certain attributes, right? They're willing to pay your worth. That's a big one. They're respectful of your time. That's another big one. And they value you, bottom line. So a good client's not going to argue with you about, what your rate is, or your availability. And they're not going to make you work tons and tons of overtime. I mean, they value your unique skills and your talents. So there's many avenues to look for ideal clients. I'm going to tell you a few of them right here. You can team up with other freelancers. This is a great resource. It's always a great idea to network with other peers and to create a pool of designers that you can work with. You can ask where they get their business. I've done this many, many times over the years. You join together with other freelancers, and you find out, well, hey, this guy's a good client and this guy's not a good client. This guy will pay your worth. This guy won't pay your worth. It's also great when you get into freelancing full-time, and let's say you get double booked or you're not available, you can pass it off to your buddy, and the same vice versa. When they're double booked or, they've got too much going on, they can pass the work off to you. And once you get your foot in the door of whatever that client's, if it's a studio or whatever, once you get in the door, if you prove yourself to them, they become a client for life. So Freelance Network is a great way to get business, to get clients. Another way is to join online groups. Facebook groups, there's a ton of motion design Facebook groups out there. There's also LinkedIn groups. Just get in these groups, share your work, and let people know you exist. My favorite is to reach out directly to studios and businesses. A quick internet search is going to provide you email addresses for like creative directors, art directors, that kind of thing. All you have to do is send a short and simple email. It's 1 or 2 very short paragraphs with a few sentences each. You give your background info, you give your availability. If you're, you don't always have to if you're first reaching out to somebody, you don't necessarily need to give your availability. But the biggest thing is to link to your website in Reel. You need to show a touch of your personality in your writing as well. And you need to link to your website in Reel. Add a hyperlink inside your email. This is very important. Just highlight the words site or Reel and use Command or Control K and insert your link. These creative directors are getting emails all the time from freelancers, and you want to make it as short and simple and concise as possible so they can read very quickly about you, click a link, see your work, and they know if you're a match or not. I'll say this, the best clients to reach are those that take some effort to reach. You don't want to fall for, cheap tricks you find in online ads, things like that, which I've seen freelancers go after. The easiest to reach client is not your ideal client, plain and simple. An example of not an ideal client is Upwork. Upwork's okay for different freelancers like writers. I've seen get some success on there, but motion designers in general, from people I've talked to, it is not a good use of your time. They're going to beat you up on your rates. You're going to spend a lot of time bidding out projects. You need to stay away from sites like Upwork. Okay. Just think about this. Great clients are not putting up "where are you" signs. They're not. Great clients are elusive, and they don't even know that they need you yet, right? They don't even know you're out there yet. So the bottom line is you only need a handful of clients that communicate with you, and you don't have to run from client to client. You just need to create solid relationships, and you need to let those clients keep you busy. I mean, like, just a few clients is all you need. Build a solid relationship with those clients, and you're going to stay busy all the time. Let me check the comments here really quick. Yeah, sorry if you're having delays. Okay, my voice levels say they're okay, so hopefully they're okay for everybody else. Okay, so step 3. Step 3 is you need to moonlight to build client relationships and cash flow. Okay, so to explain on that, there's 4 main categories of freelancing, and we're just going to focus on 2 of them right here, and we're going to look at the pros and cons of each of those. The first category is called a remote freelancer. This is what I am, and in my opinion, this is what leads to the most possibilities with work, clientele, and freedom. Remote pros are you're able to set your own hours. You can determine how you get to the deadline. So however you get to a deadline on a project is totally up to you. If you want to work in the middle of the night, that's up to you. You're on your own schedule, doing your own thing. You get to work with your own equipment, which equals a faster workflow. You're available for family and friends since you're not traveling. You're not dealing with a commute, and you can work from anywhere in the world that you want to be. Remote freelancing is also on the rise. Okay, so more and more people are expecting it these days. The cons to remote freelancing is that you're always on the clock. 7 days a week can become a thing if you're not careful about it. You are going to do some weekend work, and hours can vary, but again, that depends on your schedule. The biggest thing with remote, the con, is isolation. It can get very lonely sometimes. When you're an on-site freelancer, you're working in teams, and it's great to be able to do that to, feel creatively inspired. So remote, you're on your own. It can get a little lonely sometimes. The second type of freelancing I want to talk about is called moonlighting. And this is where you freelance after hours and on the weekends. Many freelancers start out this way, and this is what I'm suggesting to you to start out as. Moonlighting, you can charge hourly or project rates. It's a great way to make extra money. You can be upfront with clients about your availability, and you can set realistic goals. Some of the pros are that the hours are minimal. You can earn extra cash. It's a smart way to start freelancing, and there's low risk. You can gain experience, and it's short-term projects. It's also a really great way to start building a client base and cash reserves for when you go freelance full-time. When most freelancers go full-time, they have an adjustment period, going from a steady paycheck every couple of weeks to getting large paychecks more sporadically. So building up a cash reserve is really important to enable cash flow when you start out freelancing, so that you don't freak out and say, "Oh, I'm not getting paid, and I don't have a job. What am I going to do for cash?" Well, if you have cash in the bank, it makes things a little easier going. Some of the cons to moonlighting are there's little free time. You have very long days because you're working a day job, and then you're coming home and you're freelancing at night. It's also difficult to secure long-term or big budget projects. The budgets are typically smaller. You constantly have to hustle for clients because they are shorter term projects. But again, if you just get a handful of them that keep coming back to you, then you're good to go. So moonlighting is a great way to start slow. You can charge 50 to 80 bucks an hour. You can work 15 hours a week, and you can easily earn an extra $1,000 a week. The ultimate goal is for you to do both. Be a remote moonlighter on the nights and weekends, and you're working from your own place. So once you're an active moonlighter with clients, you can easily build up 2 to 3 months of cash reserves in a very quick amount of time. And you can start building a client roster as well. It's up to you how quickly you move from moonlighting to full-time freelancing, but ultimately that's your next step. That's, to go full-time freelance. So that's it. That's the 3 simple steps to take to shift from employee to freelancer. These steps can get you results. If you follow what I said, you will get results. So you need to figure out who you are and build an online presence. You need to market to your ideal clients, and you need to start moonlighting to build your client base and a cash reserve. So I know this was a lot to cover, and we did it fairly quickly. It actually went longer than I thought it would. But I'm going to open this up for questions and comments here in just a second to see if I can answer anything additional for you guys. But before we do that, like I said in the beginning, I do want to mention that if you are interested in getting more help through a community of freelancers, through live calls, shared resources, and extensive training videos, then I would invite you to check out my course called The Freelance Effect that is open for registration right now. It costs about 1 to 2 days of freelance work, depending on what you charge, but it is completely worth the investment. I also offer a 10-day money-back guarantee with no questions asked if you find that it's not for you. And then I just want to show you 2 really quick quotes here from my previous students. Paul had this to say: "I would recommend the Freelance Effect to anyone serious about motion design. The course is structured in sessions with each comprised of bite-sized videos covering everything one must know to become an entrepreneur. There's really valuable knowledge in every single session. Cameron has a great teaching style, is an expert in motion design, has worked with some serious clients, and drops serious knowledge on you throughout the course. This course is high-level content, plus you get to meet and connect with really cool, like-minded people. Think of this course as an investment. Definitely worth it if you want to level up." And Christopher had this to say: "There are a lot of courses where the instructor seems very knowledgeable, and then there are courses where the instructor is actually living it. This course is the latter. Cameron is not only a very talented artist, but he's a great communicator. Every time he talks about something, you can just feel that he has been through it. This is why this course is so unique and worthwhile. He is a living, breathing, successful freelancer. His guidance and advice are invaluable." So that's the Freelance Effect. There is no push here to buy the program. You can keep doing exactly what you're doing. You can implement the steps I taught you, or you can go further in the program. It's completely up to you. The choice is yours. But I will say that there is a big difference between information and transformation, and what you buy in this course is the transformation. So with that being said, I want to see if you guys have any specific questions for me, and I'm going to open this up for Q&A. So let me check here. Okay. No questions. Well, hopefully, unfortunately, I am unemployed, so I don't have enough money for that great course. Well, man, I wish you luck. Johnny says, "What level do you need to be in order to use the course?" I have been asked this a lot. I would say that you need to be, excuse me. It's any level. I mean, it's not software specific. So it's whether or not you want to you want to shift from an employee to a freelancer. So you could be. I have one student actually in the course right now that's he's very young. He's just starting out. So he's not afraid. He knows he wants to do his own thing. So he's in the course. I've also had in my last round, I had a student who was, I think, in their 50s that have been in the industry for a long time. So um, it all comes down to what you want to do. If you want to go work for someone else, that's totally cool. If you want to do your own thing and have multiple clients and that's what I love about freelancing personally, is that I have all these different clients and they all have their own unique personalities and the way that they work, and they all have different types of projects. So it keeps my what I do very interesting. And I know what to expect now with certain clients. But and it's always fun to even take on new clients. Just to work with new people and new other freelancers and get to network. And freelancing keeps my life very interesting, and I love it. Thanks for your kindness and your help somewhere. I'm glad to help. Johnny says thank you. So I'll let you guys, if anyone else has any questions for me, that's totally cool. I'm going to hang on here for a little bit. I do want to say, I think next week, maybe like next Wednesday and Thursday, or Thursday and Friday, I'm going to go ahead and clear my schedule. And I'm going to open up some live 15-minute Skype sessions with me. If you're considering going the next level and taking the course, and you have specific questions, or you just want to pick my brain about it, I'm totally happy to do that. Just one-on-one 15-minute Skype sessions. So if you're interested in doing that, email me at Cameron@motionscience.tv. That's Cameron, Cameron @motionscience.tv, and we can set up a time to speak. I'm down with that. I've got a few other people already signed up to do it. Maximilian says, best advice in one sentence. Oh, man. I don't know. Well, actually, when I was going through, I'd have to go back to that slide, but this isn't really advice, but when I talked about how great clients aren't holding up "where are you" signs, I think that just rings so true for us, because we're in this age where people are posting these jobs online, and you think like, oh man, this looks great. It's a great opportunity. They're going to pay me. No, it's like those clients are too easy to reach, and they're not high level enough. I mean, if you want to do that stuff, great. But like for me, it's like I want high level jobs that are super creative, because that's what fulfills me the most. So a great client, like let's say like a studio like Prologue or something, they're not going to be like, hey, here's our big online ad, come check us out. They're very exclusive. It's an exclusive club, and you have to almost go after them. I've seen them tweet a couple times in recent years saying, hey, we're looking for designers, but they don't do that typical ad thing where it's like, hey, $80 an hour, come work with us on these great film titles. No, I don't know. Great clients are not holding up "where are you" signs. Getting lots of thank yous. Cool, cool, cool. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'll mention again, if anyone is serious about doing 15-minute Skype calls next week, let me know. Email me. I'm more than happy to do that. When you say post your rate, what would you say we need to stay above, not to undercut each other? That's a great question. Motion creative media, sorry. So I talk about this more in the course, but in my opinion, I don't think anyone should charge less than $500 a day. There's some freelancers out there that charge $250, $350 a day. I think that's too cheap. It is. It's undercutting the industry, and I've talked about this on other calls before, where there's this cycle going on. So if I come in and I bid a job at $1,000 for the day, okay, and Joe comes in and says, well, I'll do it for $600 or $500, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, well, I got to undercut that, if I was to find out that was the bidding process, which normally I wouldn't. But so then I'd lose the job, right? Because Joe came in at 600. So then the next job, I may say, well, I gotta come in lower. So hypothetical all the time. But if I came in at 500, then all of a sudden the rates dropped again. And it's because in our industry, people are afraid to talk about their rates. And I mean, I've been part of this too over the years. It's just like, I think it's because there's been so much disparity between rates that people are afraid to say this is what their rate is. And then the rates just kind of seem to get lower, I guess. But less than $500 a day is no good, in my opinion. Now, if you're brand new and you have no experience, then yeah, you got to charge less than 500. But once you have a little bit of experience, you should be able to charge more for your services, because what we do is very unique, and it's in high demand, and it's the demand for our services are going to continue to grow. I mean, video is skyrocketing for everything, social media and everything. And inside video, they want graphics that move. So Motion Creative Media says, granted, I live in expensive Southern California. I have the hardest time specing job rates. Yeah, and then Johnny says it all depends on how well you're able to add value to your client. I agree with that too. So Motion Creative, I'll say this. When I was in 07, 08, I started charging like $750, $800, which people, I would tell other freelancers, I was working with a lot of studios in LA and New York at the time. And a lot of those freelancers were charging like $500-$600, and here I was living in Kansas City, working remotely, charging $800. So my cost of living was way, way lower than the coast living, and I was charging more because I valued myself higher, and I knew that I could do an amazing job. I could also get the job done faster than a lot of other freelancers could. So if you were paying me $800 for the day, and the other guy was charging $500, but it takes him 2 days to get done what I get done in a day, I'm still, it's a win-win for the studio. And I just, some actually didn't get a lot of backlash about my rates back then. It's weird too, because over the years, the industry kind of ebbs and flows, and people expect rates to kind of go with it. You always hear the constant thing, oh, budgets are tight. They've gotten tight again, which I feel like they're always tight. But I don't know. You have to, I also talk about that in the course a lot, determining your worth and your value, because you're the one who sets what that is. And, a good client will understand that, and they'll pay you for it. And if you undersell yourself every time, like you said you do, I mean, that's bad. You don't want to do that. Don't be desperate for work. A client can pick up on that. You just need some confidence. Not on purpose, mind you. Yeah. You need to, One thing you could do is figure out what your rate is and start like saying it out loud. Even look at yourself in the mirror. It sounds weird, but just do it. You need to get comfortable with your rate, and you need to stick to that rate and just have confidence when you say that rate. So, yeah, I'm curious what jobs you're not getting. Yeah, Johnny says if you connect with them well, it shouldn't matter what you charge. Yeah, I have a few clients now that, even if I don't work with them for a year or two at a time, I can still come back and they'll just be like, "What's your rate?" And it's gone up, and like, yeah, there's no question about it because I've connected with them over the years. They know my value, they know what I can bring to the table, and they're willing to pay that. In the course too, I also talk about some other ways that you can leverage your income. Because I'm not, I'm not a huge fan of always having to trade time for money, which is, freelancing. It's like I put in an 8-hour day, I get paid, $1,000 or whatever it is. So there's ways that you can leverage that so that you're actually working less hours but making more money. Got a few more minutes here. Hopefully you guys found the information good. Lance says, will you be able to show how to break down an estimate and how to figure out a timeline we would be able to finish the client's project? Yeah, we talk about, if you're talking about the course, I do talk about estimates and breaking down, monetary figures and things like that. To get past your, clients sometimes will see an estimate, and if they see here's the tip. If they see one large chunk like, hey, I'm charging you $5,000 or $10,000 to do this project, a different way to approach that is to break down that 5 or 10 grand into, many sections. Like, I'm charging you $1,000 to do this, and $1,500 to do this, and $2,000 to do this, and $500 to do this. And it all adds up to $5,000 or $10,000. But they see why you're charging what you're charging. It's perceived in them differently, and they're more apt to say, okay, yeah, we approve of the budget. Samian, I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm terrible with names. I've said this before. Glad you liked it. I'm also going to mention I started a new thing on YouTube called Technique Tuesdays. I started this past Tuesday. It was my first live in a while. I had a lot of technical problems, but I am going to try and start doing those more often on Tuesdays. If you guys want to check those out, that's just where I talk about a technique, show you something, and then open up for Q&A after that as well. So just to mention, it's on my YouTube channel. Johnny, and it's free. It's all free. Johnny B, is there any motion design tutorials in the program as well, or just about the shift? No, there's no motion design. This is all about the business side of freelancing, but it's also about, shift. It's like setting up your business for success with all the business logistics, but it's also about your mind shift and how to start thinking like an entrepreneur versus an employee. Because there is a major shift when you go from working from someone else to working for yourself. And I have seen freelancers who have failed at it because they keep that employee mindset and things just don't, work out for them. So there is no motion design tutorials in the program. But there is motion design coming out in the near future. I've got something later this summer that's going to be pretty exciting. In the meantime, you can get your motion design tutorial fill on Technique Tuesdays. But I don't know. That Technique Tuesday is very rough at this point. I'm still trying to gauge what the level of users are in motion science. I've been doing some more beginner level stuff, but I really want to focus on the more intermediate to advanced stuff. So I'm trying to figure out where everyone's at. Johnny B, I'm one that shifted back, sadly. You can shift back to freelancing, man. You can do it. Zach says, but you've made some kick-ass tutorials in the past. Yes, I have. Oh, you bought them all. Thank you, Zach. There's some even more kick-ass ones coming out. Like I said, I'm pretty excited about what I've got coming out, but that's a couple months out. I didn't stop making them. I felt like it was important to do this freelance course because number one, I didn't know anyone else doing a freelance course, and number two, I'm really good at it, and I've always been really good at it. I've had my buddies at Digital Domain ask me like, how the hell do you do this from Kansas City and don't travel? So I've always been really good at it. So I was like, well, I should make a course about it and teach other people how to do it. So it is a pretty amazing life when you can remote freelance. And if you want to travel for freelance, you can always do that too. It's fun to get to see different cities. Epicall says, immediate to advanced would be awesome. This webinar has been amazing, man. Thank you. Awesome. I did stop selling them, Zach. You're right. They actually still exist out there. In some secret places, but they're not publicly out there for people to purchase. But if you really wanted one of them, I could show you the link. Yes, it is important. If I had taken this when I was freelancing, I'm sure I would have succeeded. Yeah, man, like I wish that this would have been out there when I started. Thank God. Like I said, I was recently divorced and just purchased a home, and I had 2 little kids. And I had no other options. Like I got to make it work or fail and lose my house and everything. And that wasn't an option. But yeah, it's like no one, even the biggest thing for me was remote, like so I'm located in Kansas City. I had no clients in Kansas City until just a few years ago. Everything was always on the coast. So making that work was definitely a challenge, but I got pretty successful at it and made it work. So, okay. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. So, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time out of your day to be here, and listen to what I have to say. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you got inspired and you're able to take action and, start moonlighting and building clients and cash reserves so that you can go freelance full time. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, if you do want any one-on-one Skype sessions, let me know through email. And I think that's it. Check out Technique Tuesdays. Maybe I'll see some of you in the course. If not, keep an eye out for later this summer for some amazing motion design stuff coming your way. Thanks everyone. I will talk to you all real soon.